Hello everyone. Hello everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. This is our fourth iteration of State of Insecurity Cybersecurity podcast. I am Božidar. I want to welcome everyone who is joining us on this call, and we're going to dive right in. So on our fourth iteration of State of Insecurity, we're going to be talking about phishing and give an example of how everybody clicks with the example of one of the persons in the world that has, I think, most awareness of anybody about phishing, risks of phishing, how they're done, etc. And yet everybody clicks. Then we're going to discuss about front-end security is not security, which is, I think, something that most people are already aware of, and that it doesn't apply only to browsers. It also applies to client-side programs with a practical example. And finally, we're going to address the confirm you're human hack or scam, which essentially tries to scam the visitor of a website to do a reCAPTCHA type of confirmation that they're human, but actually it's just inserting code and running code into their system, obviously malware. So with all those three items being kinds of scams, I think it's an appropriate session for the 1st of April, and we're going to dive right into our first session. Before we go into our first session, obviously join our Discord, where we share ideas, investigate live issues. I think there are currently 2 CTF efforts going live. So hi guys, anybody on the Discord server, keep up the good work. I hope that eventually we'll find sponsors even for DEF CON. And obviously you can join the live podcast conversation. We also have a live conversation running in the background for anybody that likes to join the conversation as this podcast is happening. This is our link to the Discord channel. And with that being said, our first topic, obviously, is phishing. Everybody clicks. Before we jump into our phishing, quick reminder, our cybersecurity risk dashboard on Beyond Machines for this week, for the previous week, obviously, we have over 3.5 million reported people impacted, most impacted industries, healthcare, government, and IT, and the usual suspect of malware having most, literally half, double the next one of types of attacks. Then we have unauthorized access, which is hacked accounts, third-party compromise, and then software vulnerability and system misconfigurations. I am very much concerned about unauthorized access and system misconfigurations because those are things that people can very easily or fairly easily manage or mitigate the risk of, but it is what it is. It's good that we have the awareness and we have summaries and good awareness on all of them. So be sure to visit our cybersecurity dashboard and the risk assessment and register yourself for daily notifications on most important critical advisories and knowledge. Coming back to our session of phishing, everybody clicks. The person that clicked in our example is Troy Hunt. Troy Hunt is the owner, the founder, the developer, the man behind what we all know as Have I Been Pwned? So this is a platform where you can check whether your email address has been part of a data breach, is listed in some data breach, and you're going to see some list here. So just for anybody that doesn't know how Have I Been Pwned works, here is one example. contact@beyondmachines.net, which is our contact email, just to check whether we have been pwned. And good news, we have not been pwned so far, so no breached accounts or no pastes, and that's great news. However, not everything is good news. Here is an example of another email account which has been pwned in 21 data breaches and found in 3 pastes, pastes being lists of collected usernames and passwords from elsewhere and anywhere. And the list is just huge and very terrifying. This account has been active for over 15 years, if I'm not mistaken. So Yahoo from 2012, this email account is a list from a dump of Yahoo. Then in LinkedIn, obviously, you can see what has been compromised, email addresses, passwords. Then LinkedIn, again, email addresses, passwords from May 2016, Dropbox 2012, emails and passwords, something called Queen Street, which has a lot more information. I think this is just a data broker. Then PSP ISO, so somebody's a game player on PlayStation Portable. Then some dumped lists, then Armor Games, again, gaming, etc., etc. This goes on. So what I'm trying to get at that the person behind this entire platform, a very valuable platform, an extremely valuable tool that I recommend everybody uses, this is haveibeenpwned.com, is Troy Hunt. And Troy Hunt got phished. And as we all should, he shared his lessons learned, he shared the story, so we can all get better, we can all be more careful. What happened to Troy? He was tired. And this is mostly, I'm telling this story mostly because everybody, every single person claims that they will never be hacked because they know better. They understand what can happen and they will never click on a link that is hackable or malicious or whatever because it's only stupid people do that. No, everybody does that. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of not having the proper attention. We're all humans and we can make the mistake. So let's not be too confident in ourselves and let's be really humble. And this is a lesson in that. So what happened was that Troy Hunt got this email, apparently from MailChimp, a platform which he uses in for Have I Been Pwned? And this email said, sending privileges were restricted. We are reaching out that your MailChimp accounts have been restricted due to spam complaint. What you need to do, please review your recent campaigns and click here to review your account. And obviously, like we say on any unexpected email, do not click on the link. If this is a real platform that you're using, instead of clicking the link on this email, go to your regular MailChimp account or whatever the platform is. So bypass this link, go to the link to the regular account, go to the regular platform, just browse to mailchimp.com, enter, and check for everything. This link that is served to you, that is given to you, may be very well malicious. So what happened was that Troy, because he was tired, clicked on this. We would like to confirm something, which was obviously something apparently malicious. And what happened was that he went to MailChimpSSO.com, which looks like a real thing, but it's obviously not because it's not MailChimp.com, it's just MailChimp-SSO.com, entered his credentials. He didn't autocomplete, which should have been a warning sign. His password manager was 1Password, and 1Password didn't autocomplete the password because if you configure your 1Password, your password manager properly, it will recognize the URL and it will autocomplete. Then, because it didn't, but Troy didn't notice that, he just entered his username and password and then entered his OTP and the page hung. It waited for a while. And just moments later, Troy realized what happened and tried to log into the official website. MailChimp confirmed via notification to show his London IP address to confirm that you are not regular. He changed his password, but not before he got the alert that his mailing list was already exported from an IP address in New York. So an automation already captured his username, password, and and OTP number, immediately used them somewhere else, and immediately dumped export of the entire list from an IP address apparently in New York. And then a login alert, which actually was delayed after this email. And what happened was that 16,000 records of the mailing list that he manages were stolen from MailChimp. And this is the structure of this export. So essentially every active subscriber on my list will shortly receive an email notification of this blog post going out. And it will be, I have been hacked, and that they are now part of a data breach. Unfortunately, this happens to everyone. Now, this after the initial publish, there is more information. So received a gazillion similar phishings before today, and I have identified them early. So yes, tiredness was a major factor. I wasn't alert enough. This is a human error. It can happen to everyone. That's why I'm telling you this. It can happen to all of us. It can happen to anyone. The attacker had no way of knowing that he was tired, but we all have moments of weakness. So it's a very well-crafted phishing, obviously, which is great. But again, kudos to the hackers. Other than that, it should have been obvious. And finally, why didn't he notice the not autofilling from 1Password? Again, it can be attributed to being tired. So at this moment, he is now reporting this as an issue, and we get to learn from it. In general, just one thing to add. Everybody clicks. You, me, Troy Hunt, everybody and anybody. You shouldn't be too confident. You shouldn't laugh at people. I believe in karma. Everybody clicks. Everybody can be hacked. What we can do to stay better, obviously activate multi-factor authentication and take your time. Don't rush. If you receive any unwanted or unexpected emails, always take a second, take a minute, think about it. Am I supposed to be receiving this mail? If not, if I have a suspicion, check via the regular channel, never from this link here in the email. And that's it. Sounds simple enough, sounds easy enough, and yet, again, everybody clicks and we can all get hacked. So with that being said, I hope that this is helpful for everybody, and we can transition to our next topic, which is front-end security is not security. Now, for everybody that's not in the security business, which is, again, a very wrong statement to make, but let's make it, knows that front-end security, front-end is the great place to do something. What is front-end? Front-end is simply whatever is rendered is executed in the computer's browser. So if you're visiting a site, whatever that site may be, whatever is sent by the web server to be executed, to be run, to be created within your browser is called front-end. And today, it is not just HTML, not just pure text that's sent from the server. It is a bunch of programs called, in a language usually JavaScript, that are just built or executed in your browser that somehow beautify or make the experience on your website better. What it also does sometimes, it creates certain controls which should enhance the user experience. For instance, if we have an upload function, like this one here, I'm going to give you an example of a real front-end security mechanism. We can go out to yieldcat.com, which is an intentionally vulnerable platform, and we can log in. And there is this very nice front-end security called upload. And this upload has some guidelines. The file must be PDF, JPEG, PNG, etc. Maximum file size of 500 kilobytes. File names must not contain password characters, etc., etc., etc. And if we try to do something that is outside of this particular rule, we are not going to be allowed to do that. So something like this old profile JPEG is okay. But if we try to do something weird, like this huge file, it's not okay. The problem is that this red or green, this control, is entirely a program that is running in this browser. It is not on the server. So if I can find a way to bypass this particular program, I don't have any other controls that will stop me from sending out large files, files of a different extension, files with something else unintentionally or intentionally malicious, And that is the essence of front-end controls versus back-end controls. The back-end, the server, needs to have all these controls. This here, the front-end control, is just good for user experience. I, as a user, don't have to upload the file of 600 kilobytes and then get an error from the server. I get a message, which is nice and very well designed, if I do say so myself, and says, you can't do this. But if the server doesn't have the same control, I can very easily bypass this. Essentially, remember this. Anything that is on front end, anything that is running on your computer, on the client's computer, on the user's computer, is outside of your control. The user can control their computer fully, has access theoretically to the entire memory stack, to the entire program, and can change it, modify it, bypass it, or do whatever they want. So any controls that you want to make must never be on front end. They should always be on back end. Controls on front end are just for user experience. And with this intro, I'm going to go to a real example now, because I don't want to just show you an intentionally vulnerable platform. This is a research done by a research group and reported as a vulnerability in HP Enterprise Inside Cluster Management Utility. So this is a utility used to manage very expensive, very, very, very expensive computers, and is built by HP Enterprise. I want to tell you, it doesn't matter that this is a company as large as HP Enterprise, they too can make the same mistake. So that's why I think that this is a valuable message. Never trust the front end, and it should apply both to big enterprise as well as to small individual outfits. What happened for this particular situation? This is the research. I'm going to share all these links in the description of the podcast after the call. So what happened was essentially HP Inside Cluster Management Utility is a Java program, a Java client program that connects to a specific port on the server to send command and control configurations. So this particular program essentially can be downloaded as in this case, the application downloads a CMS GUI standalone.jar file. Essentially, this is a program. You can browse, visit it as a web application, so on a site, and this is the web page that will render this. But you can also, having this particular link, just download this file, and you can run it locally, and it will run more or less the same. What is more interesting is that this particular program then can be further analyzed for potential very nasty things. So first of all, there is no permission to use cluster administrator or anything without proper authentication. But because it is now on our computer, we can simply decompile this particular program. So a compiled program is a program that is turned into binary form or near binary form, which is readable only by the computer, by the CPU, by the computer itself. But now we can decompile it or reverse it back into something which a programmer can find and edit. And they just decompiled the program back into a Java program, into readable Java version. So they saved all the resources as a source code, and they loaded up into a client and read through it. I'm not going to go into this one. Then they looked into the project structure, and lo and behold, after a little while, they found that they can do an authentication bypass. What was interesting was that they found a parameter called isAdmin. So it says private boolean isAdmin is false. By default, it's false. So obviously, if it's false by default, what happens if they change it? So obviously, client-side authorization checks do not mean anything without server-side validation. So let's try if we can do something. Let's set this to isAdmin to true, and then they recompiled the application, and they ran the application. This can be done by copying the Java files and essentially building another version of the application. So yes, now they get this cluster administrator as of buttons, but it's just local. It doesn't really mean anything. However, let's try to do something more, they said. And they investigated whether they can push something back to the server, and they can. What is part of this code and platform is TCP port 1099, which is called Java Remote Management Interface. And this particular application communicates exactly to that port on the servers to send out commands. And they found that there is an RMI implementation that can essentially run a command, execute command line CMD. So now we know that user is admin is executed as a check. Then they just modified it and ran a bit of a program. And you can see here, CMU response model dispatcher, get RMI model, execute command line if config. And they essentially just insert it into the source code, a command that will run the if config interface config, a very innocuous command, but you can change it with whatever destructive you want there. Then they recompiled the application, and then they ran the command. They executed the jar, started the application, and triggered the ifconfig command, and the ifconfig command essentially communicated successfully. What this means is that they just built out, they modified the version that was sent to the computer of the user of this program. They modified it, they made themselves admin in it, and they modified the command to the code to issue a command, and then they sent it back to the server, and the server never checked. So again, front-end security is not security. It is only user experience. So if you're building a code, if you're building a program, if you're building an executable that is going outside of your control to the customer, make sure that you do all the same checks or even more checks on your server, where you have full control and where your customer cannot change anything. And if you think that all your customers are benign and they will never do something evil like that, remember that their computers can be compromised. A third-party hacker, an attacker, a malicious person, can gain control of a customer's account, of a customer's computer, and can just follow along, see what the user is doing, and then replicate the activities using their computer as a jump host and essentially attack you from there. So again, never assume front-end security is good enough. It's not. It never was. It will never be. So implement all security controls on the application service, on your backend, or on the databases, ideally on both. So you have layers of controls, and whatever is in the front end is only for things being nice for the users. And that was our second topic of the day. Anybody on our Discord want to jump in, maybe? No, I'm going in for the third item. So, third topic for today is our confirm your human attack. And we're going to go into a different browser right now to show you this particular attack, because it's a very nasty one. So with that, here is our platform. So this is a locally downloaded version of the malicious file, just for everybody's for everybody's awareness. This is not running somewhere. It used to be running on a real platform. It's not anymore because it just got deleted. But this is a very malicious action. What happens is you are led to some malicious site. This is obviously always part of a malicious site. And you're prompted with this particular screen. Verify that you're human. And now you need to click this button. I'm not a robot. What happens if you click on this button? You get another pop-up which says verification step. Press Windows button, which is this Windows icon on a button, and R. Then press Ctrl-V and press Enter. For anybody not understanding what this means, is when you press Command R, you essentially open a command prompt. You open a terminal window on your Windows and you can enter a command. Ctrl-V means that somebody, that whatever is in your clipboard, whatever is in copied previously, is going to be pasted in this window that you just opened. And this particular script, when you clicked on I'm not a robot, actually injected something in the clipboard, something malicious. And then they say it press enter. If you're not technical enough, or if you're just not careful enough, you're just going to run Command R, Ctrl-V, press enter. This entire window will vanish, and whatever the application is behind it is just going to continue. And in the meantime, you're going to have malware on your computer. And this is for everybody here in this link. This is what is in the script. It's called echo. This is malware. What I did is I modified the command, and this is the source code of this page. We downloaded it once we found it on the internet, and you can see that this code has comments in Russian. I can't paste this particular code anywhere because it's just going to get flagged as malicious. Sorry for that, but this is the video of it, so you can just watch it here. And essentially it says echo, this is malware at this moment. But this is the commented version that was originally executed before we made it a bit safer. What it says here, it says MSHTA, and then it says HTTPS Warsat shop / pentagram play mp3. I'm not a robot, blah, 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 whatever. So what this command here, MSHTA, HTTPS, etc., mp3, is going to get inserted in your browser, in your clipboard, and you're going to paste it, if you respect this one, into your command prompt. And if you press enter, this particular program, this is MSHTA, is an internal tool of Microsoft, and it executes something called hypertext Microsoft HTML applications, or HTA. Essentially, it executes a program which can be mostly JavaScript, but not in the safe confines on your browser. It will execute it on the program, on the computer itself. So whatever your credentials, whatever your powers as a user are, that program is going to have all the same powers. If somebody is confused about the MP3 part, let me give you a bit of intro about steganography. MP3 is a real audio file, and this particular file will be a real playable MP3 file. However, inside of it, there is a lot of empty space, or somebody can just add a lot of empty space after the audio, after the music in the file, and in that empty space, they can just add text commands. They can add a JavaScript program. And when MSHTA just loads any file, and that's sort of a vulnerability, inherent vulnerability of this MSHTA program, it will try to find the code, the JavaScript code, in whatever file you give it. So even if it's an MP3, which looks fairly innocuous, it will find any hidden code inside of it and run it happily. And you will never know, thinking that this is just an MP3 file. If you try to download it as a file like this in your browser and press play, it will play. It will be some sound. We can't download it because it's already deleted. You can try, but it's gone. But you can do basic sanity checks, but this program will find the script that is hidden inside of it, just append it to it, and it will execute it. And then it will be whatever malicious code the hackers inserted inside of it. And it is McAfee and many other organizations are warning about this particular platform, this particular tool. It is very dangerous to be used on your computer, and hackers are abusing it by convincing people to press Ctrl-R, etc., etc., etc. Any verification system that tells you to do something on your computer, apart from clicking on an image, is malicious. Stop right there, close it, and never come back to it. Never, ever, ever. It is a very nasty thing. And it is one of those things, if you're not careful enough, if you're tired, you're going to be hacked, because we can all make mistakes, and hence eventually we can all be hacked. That was the final session of our conversation. And I'm transitioning now to our Discord. If there is somebody on Discord that would like to join us for comments, I would welcome them. Or if not, just continuing on with the session, I would like to thank everybody for joining us on our 4th session. Happy 1st of April. Whoever is in April's Fools, I congratulate them. For me, this was a series of unfortunate events that sort of overruns the April's Fool moment. So that's it for April's Fool from me today. Thanks again, everybody, and thanks for joining us on this 4th session. I hope to see you again very soon.